Welcome back to the TMR podcast. This week we are doing a mashup review of all the films I've seen up until this point, and I would definitely say that October/November has been a decent month for films overall. Without further ado, let's get into the first film we're going to review, and that first film is Army of Thieves. This film is directed by, oh my dear lord, I am sorry that I'm going to butcher this name. I do not speak German. I have never learned any German. Matthias Schweighöfer. It stars, not again, Matthias Schweighöfer, Natalie Emmanuel, and Stuart Martin in the roles. It's basically the prequel to Army of the Dead, the zombie film that quite a few people have seen, and it's quite polarizing, from earlier this year, directed by Zack Snyder. And basically, this film deals with Matthias's character Dieter, who meets a mysterious woman and sort of just recruits him to assist the crew in a heist of impossible to crack safes all across Europe. So guys, I did enjoy Army of the Dead. A lot of people were very 50-50 on it. Some people say it was amazing. Some people say it was absolutely idiotic. But for me, I actually leaned more towards the fan side, and I did say that it is an enjoyable zombie flick. With that being said, with this film, I did not expect to see any zombies, and I didn't. So, I think that's a good advantage for me, because people who are similar to familiar to this universe would be expecting zombies right at the gate. But with this one, no zombies at all. Let's get out of the way first. And I'd say the character of Dieter was actually one of the funnier ones in Army of the Dead. And with this film, you actually learn to care even more about him, which is a good thing. First off, the direction is good. Matthias Schweighöfer is a very, very good actor/director, it turns out. I would never have thought that he could pull off both directing and acting at such a young age, but he does. And the film overall is very enjoyable, and it's goofy in its own right. Look, you're not going to be going in and expecting Ocean's 11, not that kind of heist. It's basically just Matthias's humor, his character Dieter's humor from Army of the Dead, but fully blown into a 2-hour movie. It embraces the character and the sense of humor the character has, the type of humor he has as well, and it keeps that tone constant throughout. Natalie Emmanuel and Matthias himself do have good chemistry in, whenever they try to do the more romantic scenes. I do feel that there is something there, and overall, I would say that for a first solo outing as both a director and an actor, I would say he does do a good job at that. It's a film that's very well paced. It's funny. It has its charm. It has a surprising amount of heart as well. But with positives does come negatives. First off, for me, again, the film ends a little too soon with little resolve, because I thought that this film was supposed to get him from point A to point B, as in where he is at the beginning of Army of the Dead. Well, they sort of do explain that, but it just sort of abruptly ends. And I got sort of bothered by that, because I feel that they should have resolved it quite a lot more. At the very least, give us an indication of where Army of Thieves, or the characters in Army of Thieves, are heading for the future. Another thing that I felt was the humor, whilst enjoyable, is a sort of a hit or miss thing. The character of Dieter himself never really develops, bar the fact that he does crack all the saves he's always managed to crack, or always dreamed of cracking. His overall character doesn't really change, which was a bit of a bummer for me. Also, I felt that the film, plot-wise, is kind of cookie cutter, and there isn't too much obstacles or conflicts to overcome. There are a few police officers chasing them. There are a few betrayals along the way, but it's sort of expected in a heist movie, in a crime movie nowadays. It's just the fact that the film doesn't try any new risks outside of the typical heist movie or the crime movie genre. So with that being said, at the end of the day, I do feel that Army of Thieves is a very solid film. It is a good time to spend 2 hours on Netflix if you don't have anything. If you haven't even seen Army of the Dead, it's okay. Just watch this film first. Guys, I'm going to give Army of Thieves a 6.9 out of 10. That marks the first film that we've reviewed. Now let's get on to the second one, which is Love Hard. Love Hard is directed by Hernan Jimenez. It stars Nina Dobrev, Jimmy O. Yang, and Darren Barnett in the roles. Basically, it's about a girl who, after meeting her perfect match on a dating app, goes to Lake Placid in New York only to be realized that she's been catfished. Look, nowadays with Netflix, you get a lot more horrible romantic comedies than you do good ones. So I didn't know what to expect with this film. The poster or trailer that I saw prior to it, I didn't see much promotional material anyway, but the things that I saw, I did get a little bit nervous. I was like, oh, okay, is this another middle of the road / mediocre romantic comedy from Netflix? Because they've been pumping out a lot of that lately. But I was actually pleasantly surprised. This is a very cute, very enjoyable, and very genuine romantic Christmas comedy. When was the last time you can say that? Like, it's been such a long time since we've had any Christmas rom-coms, because we always get normal rom-coms from Netflix anyway. But you know, this film does take advantage of its Christmas setting, its Christmas atmosphere, its vibe. You do feel warm, you do feel happy and cozy inside when you watch this film. It's romantic, what can I say? So without further ado, let's get into the positives. First off, the chemistry between Natalie and Josh Lin is there to see. You do feel that there's quite a lot of sparks happening there, which is crazy to see because Jimmy O. Yang, he's never done a romantic comedy before. He's usually done movies or comedy movies where he's the funny side character. And he has his own stand-up on Amazon and on YouTube as well. So I would never expect him to have the amount of acting chops that he did, because not only does he pull off the comedic moments well, he does also pull off the more dramatic moments well. He does pull off quite a lot of the dynamic between Natalie and Josh quite well, because obviously we're not gonna sit here and critique Nina Dobrev's romantic acting ability, because she's been in quite a lot during her career. But the real surprise package here is definitely Jimmy O. Yang, and the two, Nina Dobrev and Jimmy O. Yang, do have a lot of chemistry. It's there to see, and it's good to see that not only does the lead not always have to be this, hunky chunky piece of meat where they have like 20 packs, the chest of a god. It's not only is it good to see that, but it's also good to see, again, right now I feel it's the year for Asian representation, so it's good to see Asian representation in a romantic comedy as well. However, I do have some negatives that I'm not going to nitpick too long. I do feel that overall this film is enjoyable, and for what it is, a simple romantic comedy, it does get the job done very well. But if I did have to nitpick, it'd probably be the fact that it does end a little too soon. It literally ends 5 seconds after the, payoff. I'm not gonna say how it ends because, obviously spoiler alert, but it does end way too soon for me. You don't see the aftermath of the characters. It feels good. The ending is a feel good movie, but you're supposed to let that feel good feeling linger on longer than the film gave us time for, because it just sort of just ended like that with a small post-credit scene, which is also very sudden as well. But I guess that they are trying to not only keep this very compact, but also perhaps leave room for a part 2, part 3 in the future. Who knows? I mean, if the kissing booth can have 3 parts, so can this. So anyways, all in all, I would say that Love Hard did pleasantly surprised me. It's one of the cuter romantic comedies I've seen not only this year, but in a very long time. And it's easily one of Netflix's better romantic comedies. Guys, I am going to go kind of big, more than I thought that I expected here. I'm gonna go 7 out of 10 for Love Hard. Another review that I want to get into is Finch. Finch is directed by Miguel Sapochnik. It stars Tom Hanks, Caleb Laundrie Jones, and a bunch of other non-existent CGI robots. Basically, this film is about Finch, who builds a robot to protect the life of his dog as he slowly dies from radiation. Jesus, that is sad. As the film goes on, you can see the robot learn about love, life, friendship, and so much more. Okay, so with Finch, I feel that every single time you see Tom Hanks in any form of transport, you'd be best to stay away from him, even though a lot of us would be running towards him to get a photo or a selfie. Personally, for me, I'd be scared because every single time you see this man, it's either in a doomed plane, a doomed boat, a doomed spaceship, and now a doomed planet. So I don't know how happy I'd feel if I were to meet Tom Hanks. Oh no guys, all jokes aside, Tom Hanks is one of my favorite actors. He is a fantastic actor who's been around for 20, 30 odd years, and he's always brought his A game. He's always been so likable, yet so different in all of his roles. You could feel the warmth, you can feel the genuinity, you can feel just the pure charisma that he brings to each and every role, and he owns every role. Like, I would say that he is one of the finest actors of our generation, over any generation. With that being said, based on his name alone, I had hopes for this movie. I didn't say high hopes, but I would say hopes, because Tom Hanks is very selective about his films. He's not in every film ever. He's not, he's not gonna come to you. He's not gonna come to your screens 2 or 3 times per year. He's only gonna come every now and then. And with this film, I felt that it's one of, sorry to say, Tom Hanks's less enjoyable films. I'm not saying it's less enjoyable because it's slow, but it's more so because of the fact that the pacing isn't great. And another key element here is that it's not as well explored as I wanted it to be. I know the film might have tried to be really scaled down in terms of, making the story really personal and just making it just a smaller scale film compared to a lot of the survival films that we've got in the past. But I felt that there was so much more to explore about this world. Even it doesn't even have to be like the fact that he goes from place to place and he meets bad humans. It can just be the fact that he does explain more about how the earth came to an end, I guess. He does touch on that a bit, but I feel that it wasn't very utilized, and a lot of it could have just been touched on or improved or just explored overall, because you do have a good world that you already have at the beginning of the film, which is a bit sad that we never got to see any of it. Also, there are quite a few moments that you're supposed to feel this emotion when towards the end of the film. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but I feel that it could have taken its chance with quite a lot of the more emotional scenes or the more heartbreaking scenes. I could have felt it more had they done A, B, or C, but the film just tries to be small scale. It tries to be minimal, and overall, I did feel that even though it was maybe it might have been an artistic choice to go that way, it just didn't give the film as much impact as I wanted it to. The fact that Tom Hanks' character, Finch himself, isn't very likable, which is one of the most difficult things to do. Every movie with Tom Hanks is very simple. You see him, you like him straight away. With this film, he's not that likable. He's just this really grumpy, scarred old man, and he's just shouting to his robots and his dog for 90 minutes, which I did feel was a way to underutilize Tom Hanks quite a lot. It's a bit depressing to see that a man of his talent wasn't fully utilized per se. However, I do I'm not gonna fully, sit here and just bash this film. I do feel that there are some positives. Of course, Tom Hanks, he does get quite physical with quite a bit of the things he has to do in the film, and I do commend him for that. And also, Jeff, the robot himself, is a breath of fresh air. The relationship between Jeff and Finch, or Jeff or Tom Hanks, is really good as well. And Tom Hanks and his relationship with Goodyear, his dog, is also very cute. I mean, Tom Hanks can have a relationship with this bear on my table, and I'd be into it, because he makes everything likable, he makes everything good. But unfortunately, not good enough for me to give this film a fresh score. Unfortunately, I'm going to give Finch a 5.5 out of 10. Still, I guess there will be its fans, because it's not a horribly made movie. I just felt that a lot of the opportunities weren't taken all that well, and a lot of the peak moments weren't peak enough, if that's even a analogy. But guys, the final movie we are reviewing on our October/November movie spree is Red Notice. Red Notice is directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber. It stars The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, and Gal Gadot, three of arguably the biggest names in the movie industry today. And basically, this has been in production from Netflix for quite a long while. The Rock has been teasing it on his Instagram. He's been, upping it quite a lot, because it's easily Netflix's most expensive movie at $200 million spent. With that being said, regardless of the big star power, regardless of all the international locations that this film tries to get you to, it does end up being bang average. It's not horrible. I would say that I'm sort of torn in between critics and fans here. A lot of fans have been saying that this is a decent 90s feel movie, action movie, or explorer movie, compared to the critics who are saying this is a piece of garbage, and the fact that they can't stand all three actors. I get what both sides of the fence are trying to say, but for me, I'm just bang in the middle. I don't think that this is a horrible film, but nor is it a well-made film either. So I'm gonna just get into the positives and negatives whilst I'm rambling on, I guess. First off, I would say with the positive that there is slight chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and The Rock. You do feel that they belong together for a few moments in the film. Not always, because at the end of the day, you do know that Ryan Reynolds is Ryan Reynolds. He's basically Deadpool, but without the mask. And The Rock is The Rock in almost every movie ever. I felt that he did quite... I felt that he had more to do, and he had more charm and more chemistry with Emily Blunt in Jungle Cruise, more so than did Ryan Reynolds in this film. But that being said, the chemistry was okay. If I had to really pick anything for a positive, I would say that. I would also say Gal Gadot does expand her horizons a little bit. You always see her in this goody two-shoes role. She's not ever a villain. You've never seen Gal Gadot play a villain. So this is a more villainous role. I wouldn't say she's full-on villain, but okay, it's good to see her do something slightly different. And I'd say the twist at the end is kind of good. I wouldn't say great, but good. Like, I didn't see it coming. Let's just say that. However, I do have some of the negatives, and unfortunately, they are all big negatives. First off, the fact that all three of them, Ryan Reynolds, The Rock, and Gal Gadot, are in this film should be enough to make a film enjoyable or successful. But the fact that it's not even #1 on Netflix right now is very telling, because it's basically three of them doing what they've always been doing, and it's not three of them in their top form or at their highest. They're all underutilized, and they're all given free reign with little to no direction, which is a bit sad, because Ryan Reynolds without any direction is basically, a more free range, less, it's a more PG-13 Deadpool, because in Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds can say whatever the hell he wants. In this film, he's much more restricted. So like, for example, I feel that a film that utilizes his talents more is Free Guy. But with this film, he's just sort of Ryan Reynolds. The Rock as well. The Rock, without a script, is basically The Rock. Not even Dwayne Johnson, the actor. It all goes back to him as a wrestler. It's just this very charismatic guy, massive, big build, and you know, he's always good at something, and he always saves something. Like it's just a formula at this point that you come to expect from these two. Gal Gadot, we all know that she isn't a strong actress, as it's okay. Safe to say that I do feel that she's the perfect Wonder Woman, and she did do a good job in Wonder Woman 1. But the rest of her outings as Wonder Woman, where she, she's supposed to be given range or stuff, more stuff to do than just whack some bad guys. She's not all that great, and it did bring me back to her Fast and Furious days, which is not a good thing. I'd say all three of them were just given too little direction and too much freedom. Another thing that I feel was lacking in this film was just pure emotion. There is not much emotion in this film. It's basically the fact that they just throw these guys together and expect for you to be entertained, or just at the very least feel that you're not wasting 2 hours, which I didn't, but I can see why some people did. This film overall, it does feel a bit commercial. It does feel a bit artificial. It does feel a bit hollow. It's just all around, it just felt a bit too hollow at its core, because you end up not caring about any of the characters. Gal Gadot, The Rock, or Ryan Reynolds, none of them are given much characterization outside, a few scenes where we just zoom in on the on any of them, and they just sort of explain their backstory. We're just like, okay, yeah, sure. But at the end of the day, how much do you care? So at the end of the day, I do feel that it's wasted potential, especially with the pure star power involved in this film. But still, I wouldn't say it's bad or horrible, or it's middle of the road for me. And as such, the score will also be middle of the road. Guys, I'm gonna give Red Notice a 5.5 out of 10 as well. Guys, thank you so much for listening to my big extravaganza review, I guess. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Did you agree or not agree with my opinions? Please feel free to express yourself in the comment section below. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time.